we are going to discuss about the cell structure and its functions. Now before going to this, let's have some introduction about the cell. Now we all studied in the lower classes that cell is a basic structure of all living organisms. Now that means all the living organisms are made up of cells except virus. Virus does not consist of any cells. Except virus, all living things, they are made up of cells. Now coming to cells, the study of cell is known as cytology or cell biology. Study of cell is called as cytology or cell biology. Now earlier this cytology was included in the branch of biology itself, but after the invention of this microscope, the cytology has become separate branch of science. Now microscope was first discovered by Jacques Janssen in 1590. He first discovered the microscope. So after the discovery of this microscope, cytology or cell biology has become the separate branch of science. Next, later on, first cell was discovered by Robert Hooke in 1605. Robert Hooke is considered as father of cytology because he first observed the structure of cell. He observed plant cells. He observed plant dead cells from bark of oak tree. So he first observed the bark of the oak tree and that to the dead cells, and he proposed that the cells, plant cells appear like honeycomb structures. So since he first observed the cells, first given the structure of the cell, that's why he considered as father of cytology. Next one is Antony van Leeuwenhoek. In 1675, he first observed the living cells. Robert Hooke observed the dead cells, whereas Antony van Leeuwenhoek, he first observed the living cells in a pond water like bacteria, protozoans, and he also observed the blood cells, RBCs. So he first observed the living cells. Next one, Corti and Fontana. In 1772, Corti and Fontana, they first observed a jelly-like substance inside a cell. So inside a living cell, they first observed a jelly-like substance. Later on, in 1835, Dujardin is another scientist. He named that jelly-like substance as sarcode. It is named as sarcode. Later on, in 1840, the other scientist named Purkinje, he named sarcode as protoplasm. He named that as protoplasm. And 1831, Robert Brown, he first discovered the nucleus in the cell. So please note down these scientist names. Okay, so this is a brief introduction about the cell, about the scientist and the discoveries. Next we are going to discuss about the types of microscopes. So next one is types of microscopes. So there are basically 4 types of microscopes. First one is light microscope, or it is also called as compound microscope. Usually what we use in school, it is compound microscope or light microscope. Next one is electron microscope. The third one is fluorescence microscope. And the fourth one is phase contrast microscope. So these are the 4 types of microscopes. Now what is the first one? First one is light microscope or compound microscope. What we usually use in our schools, it is compound microscope. Since this microscope require light, without light we cannot observe the specimens. That is the reason why it is called as light microscope. And using this microscope we can magnify magnify the objects up to 1000 times. So we can observe the specimen up to 1000 times its size. So that is a compound microscope or light microscope. Next one is electron microscope. So in electron microscope, the tiniest particles, the dot-like structures which are very closely associated with each other, they can be distinctly separated and we can view the object clearly using electron microscope. Why? Because here high speed revolving electrons are used, and here the lens are also replaced by electromagnetic lens. That is the reason why we can visualize the object up to its maximum size. Up to maximum size. Okay. In this electron microscope, we have two types of electron microscopes. First one is TEM and the second one is CEL. TEM means transverse, transmission electron microscope. So using this transmission electron microscope, we can observe the objects in 3D direction, 3-dimensional. So we can observe the objects in 3-dimensional. Next one is SEM, that is scanning electron microscope. So using this microscope, even we can observe the subcellular structures. That means cell is made up of subcellular structures like cell organelles, mitochondria and all. So in turn they are made up of what? Proteins, carbohydrates, like that. So by using this we can observe subcellular structures like proteins, carbohydrates, etc. So that is the importance of this scanning electron microscope. Next one is fluorescence microscope. Here in fluorescence microscope, it is mainly used in laboratories. It is used in labs, diagnostic labs or pathology labs. So by using this microscope, we can find out the structure of disease causing pathogens. So find out the skeletal structure of the pathogens, we can use this microscope. So in this microscope what they do is they use UV rays. They use UV rays. These UV rays are observed by the protein structures of these pathogens and emit visible light. So that we can clearly observe the structure of that particular pathogen. So it is mainly this fluorescence microscope is mainly used in pathology labs. And the last one is phase contrast microscope. So if you observe these three microscope, here we observe almost dead cells only here. But whereas using phase contrast microscope, we can observe the functions within the cell. That means, for example, by using this microscope, we can observe the cell division. All the phases of cell division, that is mitosis and meiosis, can be clearly studied by using this phase contrast microscope. That means we can observe direct functions of the cell. So these are the four types of microscopes: light microscope, electron microscope, fluorescence microscope, and the last one is phase contrast microscope. So next we are going to discuss about cell theory. Okay, next we are going to discuss about cell theory. This is very important question. Two scientists, Schleiden and Schwann, first they have given this cell theory. Now let us look at this. Schleiden Matthias Jacob from 1804 to 1881, he observed many plant cells. And in 1838 he proposed that all the plant cells are made up of all the plants are made up of cells. That means cell is a basic structure of all plants. Later on, Theodor Schwann. Theodor Schwann, his lifespan is from 1810 to 1882. He also observed the cells, but here he observed the animal cells. Schwann observed animal cells, whereas Schleiden observed plant cells. In the similar same year, 1838, Schwann proposed that all the animals are made up of cells and they have a nucleus in the center of the cell, and animal cells do not have cell wall. That is observation made by Schwann. And both combinedly in 1832, they have given the cell theory, proposing that cell is the structural unit of all living organisms and cell is the functional unit of all living organisms. So this is a statement, cell theory, given by both Schleiden and Schwann. Later on in 1835, Rudolf Virchow, he observed the cell division in the cells and proposed that new cells are formed from the pre-existing cells. For example, suppose this is a cell, single cell. This single cell will give rise to the new daughter cells. That means the cell will undergo the cell division. The single cell will divide and it gives rise to new daughter cells. Like this, that means new cells are formed from the pre-existing cells. So this is the theory given by Rudolf and Virchow. So this theory is also added to the cell theory. So we are adding the third point. New cells are formed from the pre-existing cells. Now later on, many scientists, they work on the different types of cells and they try to find out the chemical composition of the cell. That means what is the chemical composition of protoplasm and all. And they observe that all the cells have the similar chemical composition, and that is also added into this cell theory. That means all cells have similar chemical composition. Later on, some other scientists, they also try to find out the functions of the cell, and what they observe is all the functions of the cell or the functions of an organism which takes place in any particular organism, they depend upon the functions which are carried by the cells. That means whatever functions we are carrying, like respiration, excretion, reproduction, every single function, it takes place within the cells also. That means cells will carry out respiration, cells will carry out excretion, cells will carry out reproduction. Okay? That means functions of an organism depends upon the functions carried by the cell. So these are the 5 points which are included in the cell theory, and all these together are called as modern cell theory. It is termed as modern cell theory. Initially, the theory given by Schleiden and Schwann, only 2 points were included. That is, cell is the structural unit of all living organisms and cell is the functional unit of all living organisms. But later on, these 3 points are also added to it and is termed as modern cell theory.